Hey guys, tonight we begin with something a little colder, a little harsher, and honestly, something you probably wouldn't survive for more than a few hours. Imagine waking up not in your bed with memory foam and central heating, but in a hollow, carved straight into the snow, the walls glittering faintly with frost like someone has coated everything in cheap holiday tinsel. The Arctic night hums around you, wind whining like an out-of-tune violin, and you're supposed to call this home. Spoiler, you're not making it to breakfast, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is. Maybe you're curled up in California at 9 p.m. or hiding under blankets in Berlin at 3 a.m. Either way, I love knowing where you're tuning in. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The snow presses down above your head. You shift slightly and the roof shivers, sprinkling your face with cold dust. It isn't glamorous, and it certainly isn't an Airbnb you'd leave a 5-star review for. Families carve these tunnels out of snow because when blizzards scream across the land, solid walls of frozen white are safer than facing the sky. Think of insulation in your house. Fiberglass, spray foam here. Insulation is literally snow, packed tight and praying it doesn't melt. Your breath fogs instantly, and droplets bead and freeze before they even have time to drip. You can hear a soft murmur, a child whimpering, soothed by a mother's hand. The glow of an oil lamp flickers low, and suddenly you remember, oil isn't electricity here. It's rendered seal fat, thick and greasy, burned in a small bowl with a wick. The smell clings to your clothes, smoky and animal, but its warmth in liquid form. Without it, the tunnel would become an icy coffin. And historians still debate how early Inuit families perfected the art of making these lamps, some pointing to borrowed techniques, others to generations of careful trial. Either way, you're grateful for a little yellow flame that looks absurdly tiny compared to the snowstorm trying to eat the world above. You shift again, cramped in the narrow space. Snow walls close in so close that if you sneeze too hard, you might redecorate the architecture. The ceiling curves like the inside of a throat, breathing with your fear. A father's voice, low, tells an old story: ravens stealing the sun, polar bears walking upright like men. You laugh a little, but it catches in your throat, because outside the storm does sound like something alive, something pacing above, waiting for the tunnel to fail. Legends aren't just for fun. They are survival guides disguised as bedtime stories. And let's be honest, you, the modern visitor, aren't built for this. Your gloves have touchscreen fingertips, designed for scrolling, not scraping ice off a roof before it caves in. The Inuit child next to you holds a small scraper. Carved from bone, her movements practiced, precise, and far steadier than yours. Her job is to keep the tunnel mouth clear, because if snow seals it, air disappears, you would panic. She just shrugs like it's brushing teeth. You try to stretch your legs, but space is so limited you bump into someone's boots. They are sealskin, thick, stitched with tendon thread, waterproof in ways that would put your expensive winter-ready sneakers to shame. You wiggle your toes and feel the chill biting through your socks. In this place, Fashion Week is whoever's feet stay attached the longest. A gust rattles above, and for a moment the lamp flickers out. Darkness swallows everything. Silence hangs, except for the sound of snow shifting like sand on a beach. But instead of suntan lotion and waves, it's just the sound of burial. Someone quickly coaxes the flame back, and you sigh with relief that tastes of smoke and fear. Your stomach growls. Dinner tonight isn't pizza delivery. It's strips of dried fish, chewy as old leather, dipped in fat that glistens like candle wax. You gag slightly, but the child beside you chews happily, lips glistening like it's a bag of chips. You want to laugh, but your jaw aches from the cold. And here's a fact. Fat, especially seal fat, was not just food, it was central, heating for the body. Modern nutritionists might faint at the cholesterol, but in this tunnel, that slick, greasy energy is the only reason hearts keep beating. A faint scratching noise comes from outside. Your pulse jumps. Is it just snow shifting, or a fox sniffing? Worse, the ghostly echo of a polar bear's paw. No one knows, but the father quiets everyone. You realize then how silence itself is a survival skill. Even children understand the art of stillness, their wide eyes glinting in the lamplight. You swallow hard, remembering that outside, predators smell weakness faster than you can Google how to survive Arctic night. The storm howls louder, but inside, people shuffle closer. Shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip, warmth leaks from body to body. You suddenly realize this is the real insulation, flesh and breath layered together. Snow walls may hold, but human. Closeness keeps the night at bay. Someone hums a low tune, soft as heartbeat. It's not music you'd stream. It's music you feel against your ribs, vibrating through the cramped tunnel. You close your eyes and breathe slowly. Above, the Arctic sky is raging. Here, you are a small flame, a fragile body pressed against snow, surviving in ways you never thought possible. The walls creak like an old house, but the people around you are calm. They know storms come and go, they've always known. And you're just trying not to sneeze the roof down. The storm above has not given up. Snow lashes across the tundra like claws, yet here you are, crouched inside a tunnel that feels more like the inside of a lung than a house. The walls are curved and smooth, pressed from hours of careful work with bone scrapers. You reach out and touch the side. It is cold, of course, but also solid, as if the snow has turned into stone. You whisper to yourself that you are safe, but the wind overhead shrieks back, as if to argue otherwise. You crawl forward, knees brushing the floor, and see a mother bending low, her breath fogging the narrow ceiling. She taps the wall gently, with her knuckles, testing for hollowness. You almost laugh, like knocking on drywall to see if you can hang a painting. But here, that knock tells her if the blizzard is pressing too hard, if the tunnel might sag. One wrong sound, and everyone knows the snow has shifted. And then it becomes a race between the shovel and suffocation. The children are not afraid. They sit with cheeks glowing red, drawing in the frost with small fingers. They carve circles and lines that melt almost instantly under their touch. It looks like doodling on a frosted car window, except your car has heated seats and Bluetooth, and here the entertainment is whatever your breath can fog. You wonder how they do not complain. Maybe it is practice. Maybe it is because there is nowhere else to go. You, on the other hand, would already be phoning customer service to demand a refund. The lamp burns steadily in its stone dish. The smell is strong, almost sour, but the flame is steady. This is not decoration. This is survival. Without it, the air would freeze inside your nose, and your breath would leave crystals on your lips. The flame is small, but the heat radiates. Out, absorbed by the walls, the roof, and by the people pressed close together. It is a science lesson disguised as comfort. Snow, though frozen, traps air pockets that insulate. Ironically, the very thing that chills you is also the shield against the deeper cold. You could write that on a motivational poster. Sometimes your enemy is also your blanket. You close your eyes for a moment, listening. The storm sounds distant now, muffled by the weight of the snow. It is like being underwater, except you can breathe. You realize that sound itself is changed in here. Every voice is soft, dampened, as if the tunnel swallows anything louder than a murmur. A child giggles, and the laugh floats down the narrow space, curling like smoke. For a moment it feels almost warm, until a drip of melted frost slides down. Your collar, cold enough to remind you where you are. The father crouches near the tunnel entrance, scraping carefully with a tool carved from antler. Snowdrifts try to seal you in, piling like an enemy with endless patience. He works slowly, rhythmically, brushing away the new layers. You think of modern snow shovels with ergonomic handles, sold in bright colors. His is a dull bone, polished by hands, effective only because it must be. He does not complain, though his shoulders tense with effort. You imagine him doing this every hour, all night. A fight not against one storm, but against the nature of winter itself. And here is something you did not expect. The walls do not melt easily. The compacted snow is harder than you imagined, nearly as firm as wood. Historians still debate whether families always built tunnels in pairs, one for living, one for storage, or, if that practice was more recent, a refinement over centuries. You glance down the passage and notice a smaller tunnel branching off, stacked with bundles wrapped in hide. Food, tools, maybe even keepsakes. In this world, a keepsake could be as simple as a sharp blade, treasured more than any photograph. You reach for your toes, trying to wiggle them for warmth, but the chill bites through your socks. Someone notices and pushes a bundle of fur toward you. It smells like animal and smoke, but it is soft, heavy, and instantly your legs feel less brittle. You murmur thanks, though your voice is almost lost in the cramped space. Sharing here is not a matter of politeness. It is a matter of breathing tomorrow. You picture modern neighbors arguing about noise, while here survival depends on absolute cooperation. If one person fails, everyone feels it. If one person snores too loud, well, at least that warms the air. A child crawls past you, clutching a carved toy to bones bound together with a strip of sinew, swinging like a tiny drum. He bangs it softly against the snow wall, producing a dull thud. You smile, thinking of expensive electronic toys at home, batteries always dying, chargers always missing. Here, play is bone and sinew, yet the laughter it brings is louder than any digital beep. You wonder, not for the first time, who is poorer. Your stomach rumbles again. The smell of dried fish lingers, mixed with the heavier scent of fat. A woman unwraps a small bundle, slicing thin strips with a knife so sharp it gleams in the lamplight. The knife is bone-handled, the blade shining with an edge maintained by endless sharpening on stone. You take a bite, and the texture is tough, like jerky made of ocean. It sticks to your teeth. You swallow and cough, earning a small chuckle from someone nearby. They chew steadily, unconcerned, accustomed to the toughness. For them, this is dinner. For you, it is survival disguised as chewing practice. The tunnel creaks suddenly. Snow shifts, sending a groan through the walls. Everyone freezes. The lamp flickers, shadows dancing across pale faces. The father whispers calm, his eyes on the roof. For a moment you are certain it will collapse. Your chest tightens, your breath shortens, your fingers dig into the fur. Then silence. The groan fades, the tunnel holds. You let out a laugh, too sharp, too nervous. It feels absurd to laugh, but what else can you do? In a place like this, humor itself is insulation. Time drags strangely here. Minutes stretch like hours. Hours fold into each other. You do not measure by clocks, but by drips of melting frost, by the scrape of bone against snow, by the sighs of sleeping children. You glance toward the entrance, a faint circle of pale light where the wind shoves snow relentlessly. Outside is death, inside is cramped safety. You feel both grateful and trapped. It is like living inside a refrigerator, but one stocked only with fear and fish. And yet, as you lean back against the curved wall, something unexpected settles over you. A calm, quiet acceptance. The snow is heavy, the air is thin, the food is strange, but you are still here. The tunnel holds, the flame still burns. The people breathe steady around you. You exhale, watching the cloud of your breath rise, hang, and vanish into the frost. For a moment, you believe you could make it through the storm. Not forever, but tonight. Maybe. The lamp glows softly, its flame wobbling like a tired dancer who refuses to sit down. The air smells thick, heavy with burned oil, but you are grateful for it. Without that small bowl of fat, the tunnel would sink into darkness so complete you might forget your own hands exist. The parents sit close to the lamp, their faces shining orange, shadows stretching long against the walls of snow. Children press against them, eyes wide, restless, waiting for the storm to lose interest. Above, the wind howls, claws at the roof. But inside you are held in a fragile pocket of warmth and story. The father clears his throat, his voice low and steady. He begins with a tale you do not know, something about ravens stealing the daylight and hiding it in a box. The children lean forward, mouths half open, and you almost smile. The story drifts through the tunnel, a thread weaving everyone closer. You think of bedtime stories at home, picture books glowing on a tablet, read aloud while a washing machine hums in the background. Here the illustrations are shadows flickering on curved walls. And the hum is the storm, relentless and loud. The mother adds her own voice, softer, carrying a rhythm like waves. She tells of the great bear who walks on two legs, who teaches hunters where to find seals beneath the ice. The children gasp at the right places, laugh when she growls for effect, then huddle tighter when the roof creaks. You notice the father gives her a nod, as if stories are not just entertainment, but assignments. Keep the children calm, keep their breathing slow, distract them from the walls that threaten to press in. You shift slightly, trying not to interrupt, and the snow crunches beneath your knee. A child glances at you with annoyance, the same look a modern kid gives when you buffer the Wi-Fi during their show. You grin back apologetically, though your grin feels stiff in the cold. The story continues, wrapping around you, softer than the fur draped across your shoulders. The lamp flickers again, and everyone freezes. It is funny how the smallest flame commands absolute attention. You could set off fireworks at home and barely look up from your phone. Here, if the lamp dies, the tunnel becomes a tomb. The father quickly adjusts the wick, feeding it more fat, and the flame steadies. Relief ripples through the group like a sigh. You laugh under your breath, realizing you are depending on a puddle of oil more than you ever depended on your fridge or your central heating. Comfort is relative, and right now, this greasy glow is luxury. One of the children tugs at his mother's sleeve, whispering a question. She leans down, answering in a low voice, her breath making frost drip from the ceiling. You watch the droplet fall, land on her hair, glisten like a jewel. She does not flinch, just continues, as if wearing frozen decorations is routine. You cannot help but think how people in your world pay extra for icy highlights. Here, nature hands them out for free, one cold drop at a time. The father tells another story now, this one about hunters losing their way in white fog. His voice lowers, serious, and the children grow solemn. He says the fog can swallow paths, blur mountains, make the sky vanish. You imagine it, and you realize this is not exaggeration. Fog in your life means traffic delays and missed flights. Fog here means you disappear and never come back. He does not say it, but you feel it in the hush that follows. Storytelling is a map disguised as myth. Your toes ache again, despite the fur. You wiggle them discreetly, but one child notices, smirks, and leans closer to the fire. He stretches his legs out with smug satisfaction, as if to say, beginner's mistake. You chuckle, shaking your head, because somehow, even in the Arctic, children still find a way to tease. Some things are eternal, wind, snow, and the art of sibling mockery. The mother picks up the rhythm again, her story flowing like water through cracks. She tells of spirits that wander the storm, hungry, jealous of warmth. She warns the children never to whistle at night, or the spirits will answer back. They shiver, then hide their faces in her sleeve. You think about ghost stories you heard as a kid, whispered under blankets with flashlights. Here, the stakes feel sharper. Whistle at the wrong time, and maybe you do not make it home. You hold your own lips tightly, not willing to test the myth. The lamp smotes suddenly, the flame sputtering, and the father leans close, lips pursed, coaxing it alive. The children giggle at the sight, his face lit orange, brows furrowed, as if he is arguing with the fire itself. He wins, and the flame steadies. You clap softly in your lap, amused at how survival looks like a man whispering encouragement to a bowl of grease. You could imagine putting that on a motivational calendar. Time slides again. You cannot tell how long the stories last. Minutes, hours. The storm rages, then quiets, then rages again. A cycle with no clock. The only measure is the pool of oil shrinking in the lamp. The stack of dried fish slowly thinning, the children's eyes drooping heavier. The mother sings softly now, her voice barely more than a hum. The sound is tender, but underneath it you hear something else, discipline. The lullaby is not just for sleep, but for order. Keep the children quiet, keep the tunnel calm, keep fear from multiplying. Your own eyelids grow heavy, warmed by the glow, lulled by the stories. You almost forget the storm, almost believe you are safe. But the roof groans again, a long, low moan. Everyone stiffens, the flame trembles. The father pauses mid-sentence, listening, then silence. The tunnel holds. He clears his throat, picks up the thread of his tail, and the moment passes. You exhale, laughing nervously, because even in terror, the story never stops. The lamp still glows, the parents still speak, the children still listen. In this fragile, frozen world, the fire is not just light, not just heat. It is memory, instruction, comfort, and warning. You lean back against the wall, close your eyes, and let the words blur into rhythm. Above, the storm prowls. Inside, The lamp holds steady. You drift, suspended between fear and calm, as the snow tunnel becomes a library, a cradle, and a shield. The storm has no manners. It keeps clawing at the tunnel mouth, piling snow into every gap, and you find yourself drafted into chores before you can even complain. A bone scraper is shoved into your hands, its surface polished smooth by years of use. You look down at it, trying to imagine it as some sort of multi-tool, but really it is just bone, sharp at one end, meant to keep the entrance open. You kneel beside the father, pushing snow away in awkward strokes. He works with the efficiency of someone who has done this every storm of his life. You, on the other hand, look like a beginner in a gym class, flailing and sweating while everyone else is in perfect sync. Your breath fogs thick, coating the ceiling until droplets fall, stinging your neck like cold needles. You pause, rubbing the spot, and the father gives you a brief glance that says, "Keep moving." So you scrape again, hands clumsy, arms aching, and wonder why no one invented a snowblower. Then you remember, yes, someone did invent one, but not here, not now, not when fuel is seal oil and your extension cord is wishful thinking. Behind you, the women sit cross-legged, mending boots. The boots are heavy sealskin, dark, stitched with tendon thread. They push needles through with the precision of surgeons, tightening seams that keep water out. You lean closer, watching, and one woman looks up at you with a smile that is half amusement, half pity. You realize she probably knows you have trouble even sewing on a button. In your world, you would toss broken shoes and buy another pair online, 2-day shipping included. Here, each stitch is a lifeline, and tendon thread is worth more than any shiny brand name. A child hands you a piece of hide, stiff and rough. It smells of salt and smoke, the residue of past hunts. You are told to scrape it, to make it supple. The blade rasps across the surface, a grating sound that fills the tunnel. Your arms burn, your wrists ache, but you keep going because everyone else is watching. The child laughs at your clumsy effort, then takes the scraper back and shows you how it is done swift. Even strokes, pressure just right. You nod, humbled by someone half your height who has already mastered survival skills while you still search for the coffee machine. The tasks go on. Someone tends the lamp, trimming the wick, pouring more oil. Another checks the food bundles, rearranging dried fish and slabs of fat. The smell grows stronger, coating the air, clinging to your hair, but no one complains. Complaining here would be like whining about the Wi-Fi during a power outage. Pointless, obvious, and slightly insulting to the people actually keeping you alive. You glance toward the tunnel mouth, where snow keeps drifting in endless, relentless. The father scrapes steadily, a rhythm as old as the land. You try again to help, but your hands are clumsy, your scraper slipping. He gives you a look, then gently nudges you aside, not unkindly, just practical. You step back, realizing that here survival is not about trying hard, it is about knowing exactly how, and you do not know. Not yet. Historians still debate whether tasks were strictly divided: men outside scraping, women inside sewing, or if families adapted as needed. The truth probably lies in between. Tonight you see everyone working, no one idle, because idleness here is a luxury reserved for people who have radiators and microwaves. A woman hums as she sews, the sound soft, steady. A child dozes against her shoulder, lulled by the rhythm. You notice her hands never pause, needle moving even as she soothes the child. Efficiency disguised as tenderness. You think of multitasking at home, juggling emails and laundry. Here, multitasking keeps boots dry and children calm. There is no app for that, only tendon thread and patience. Your arms are still sore from scraping. You flex your fingers, blowing warm air into them. A boy notices, shakes his head, and hands you a fur mitten. You slide it on, grateful, though it smells faintly of fish. You grin anyway, because warmth is warmth, even if it smells like dinner. He smirks, satisfied, and returns to his own work. Time passes strangely in this cycle of small tasks. You scrape, you stitch, you adjust the lamp. The storm outside roars, but inside there is a rhythm, a quiet persistence. You realize this is how survival works here, not with dramatic heroics, but with endless, repetitive chores. Tasks so small they seem trivial, yet each one keeps the tunnel breathing, the people warm, the night endurable. You smile faintly, thinking of your own chores at home, dishes in a sink, laundry in a basket. Annoying, yes, but at least none of them involve preventing the ceiling from collapsing on your head. The father pauses, wiping his brow, snow dust clinging to his lashes. He exhales, then resumes scraping. The women knot the last stitches, boots repaired, ready for another day. The lamp burns low, then steadies with fresh oil. Around you, people move in harmony, a choreography shaped by centuries. You sit back, tired, a little sore, and oddly proud. Even clumsy, even awkward, you were part of it. And as the storm pounds, above, you realize the tunnel does not just hold snow and people. It holds work, patience, and the strange comfort of shared exhaustion. You stretch your sore arms, listening to the scrape, the hum, the soft snore of a child, and you think, this is what survival looks like. Not epic battles, not grand adventures, just frozen tasks, done again and again until the storm gives up. Your stomach growls loud enough that one of the children glances up from his toy bone drum and smirks, as if to say, rookie mistake. Hunger in this place is never casual, never a background irritation. It gnaws steadily, like the wind outside, and it is answered with food that would never make it onto a glossy menu, but somehow keeps hearts beating and bodies warm. A woman unwraps a bundle, the smell hitting you before you even see what it is. Strips of dried fish, pale and leathery, curl in her hands. She passes them around without ceremony, and everyone tears at them with teeth used to this fight. You bite into yours, expecting some hint of flavor, and instead discover it chews like an old boot and tastes faintly like the ocean forgot to clean up after itself. The child next to you chews happily, his grin wide, as though he has just been handed a bag of candy. You want to laugh, but your jaw aches too much from the effort. Then comes the fat. It gleams in the lamplight, slick and unashamed, cut in two, small chunks that glisten like candle wax. Someone presses one into your hand, and you hesitate. Every instinct tells you no. Your modern brain whispers about cholesterol and gym memberships. But here, the rules are different. You close your eyes and bite. It is rich, greasy, coating your tongue with warmth that slides down your throat like liquid fire. You shudder, cough, and then feel better, warmer, stronger. The joke is on you. Calories here are not indulgence. They are armor. Snowmelt water is passed around in a small skin bag. You take a sip and nearly choke. It is cold enough to burn the liquid. so sharp it feels like swallowing ice itself. You gulp anyway, because thirst here is no joke. You wipe your lips, breath steaming, and realize you are drinking the storm, taming it one mouthful at a time. The father catches your eye and chuckles at your expression. He mutters something to the children, and they giggle, staring at you. You are the entertainment tonight, the outsider wrestling with food that for them is comfort. You shake your head and grin back, feeling ridiculous, like someone who brings a fork to a barbecue and wonders why people laugh. You notice how carefully they handle every scrap. Not a flake of fish, not a drop of fat is wasted. A child licks her fingers thoroughly, then wipes them on her fur trousers with satisfaction. You think of your own fridge back home, leftovers growing mold because you forgot them behind the milk. Waste here is not possible, not even thinkable. If the Arctic had a motto, it would be eat it or freeze. The smell in the tunnel grows stronger. With every bite, fish, fat, smoke, sweat all blending into a perfume no company would dare bottle. You breathe it in anyway, because somehow it comforts. You catch yourself wondering if, after weeks of this, the smell might become home itself. You almost laugh at the thought of someone spritzing eau de seal oil before heading out on a date. And here is something curious. When families shared meals in these tunnels, they sometimes placed bits of food aside, offerings for spirits, believed to wander the storm. You glance at a small piece set carefully on a stone ledge, untouched, the lamp flame flickering near it. Whether that piece is for myth or memory, you cannot say. Historians still debate if such offerings were meant to appease actual beliefs, or if they simply taught children about gratitude in a place where nothing could be taken for granted. Either way, you are not touching it. Stealing from spirits feels like the sort of mistake you do not recover from. Your jaw finally relaxes. The last bite of fish gone, the last drop of fat swallowed. You feel full, not pleasantly, but solidly. Like you have been patched with fuel. You lean back against the snow wall, the grease still clinging to your lips, your breath visible in the lamp glow. Around you, children lick their fingers, adults exchange quiet words, and the storm pounds above, unimpressed. And yet, you feel steadier, stronger. You laugh softly, realizing the food has done exactly what it promised. Not a feast, not even enjoyable by your standards, but enough to hold life steady. Enough to remind you that survival is not about taste, but about staying warm another night. You stretch your stiff jaw, close your eyes, and sigh. For now, hunger has been tamed, and the tunnel feels a little less like a trap and a little more like a kitchen. The lamp is low now, its flame trembling, painting the tunnel walls with shadows that stretch and curl like living things. Children huddle close, their faces round with exhaustion, but their eyes are still wide. Sleep does not come easily when the storm roars above, so the parents lean into the oldest trick they know. Stories. You have heard bedtime stories before, of course. Princes and frogs, glass slippers and talking mice. Here, it is ravens that steal the daylight and bears that walk upright. And none of them end with a happily ever after kiss. The father begins, his voice deep, deliberate. He speaks of Raven, sly and clever, who once carried the sun hidden in his beak. The children lean closer, their mouths opening slightly, as if they might catch the light themselves. You notice how their shoulders relax, as though the storm cannot reach them while the words weave overhead. It is a performance without costumes, just the dance of shadow and voice. You smile faintly, remembering how you once needed cartoons projected on a screen to hold attention. Here, a flicker of fire and a steady voice outcompetes Netflix. The mother interrupts with her own tale. This one of a bear so large it blotted out the horizon, a creature who taught people where to find breathing holes in the ice. She growls, for effect, and the children squeal, burrowing deeper into her arms. You can almost hear the bear's heavy tread in the wind outside. She grins, pleased with the reaction, then softens her tone, turning menace into reassurance. You marvel at her skill. Storytelling here is not pastime. It is sedation, distraction, and maybe even education. You shift slightly, your knees popping. Loudly in the cramped space, one child shoots you a look as sharp as any dagger. It is the universal face of a kid who has been interrupted mid-story. You whisper sorry, though you suspect the child does not forgive easily. You laugh under your breath, realizing you just got scolded without a word by someone still missing half their teeth. The shadows thicken, the flame fluttering, and the stories grow darker. The father speaks of fog that swallows hunters, of spirits that whistle back if you call in the night. The children are silent, eyes round, breaths held. You shiver too, though you try to hide it. You think about your own childhood, flashlight under the blanket, ghost stories traded with friends until someone cried. Here, the ghosts are woven into survival. They keep children from wandering into storms, from calling out to predators, from forgetting that danger wears many faces. Fear, in this place, is a leash. There is a pause, and the mother hums a tune. Low, steady, something between a song and a prayer. The sound fills the tunnel, wrapping everyone in a blanket no fur could match. You feel your eyelids grow heavy, the hum sinking into your bones. Then the father clears his throat and says something that makes the children laugh. You do not catch the words, but the laughter is enough. Relief, bright as the flame itself. You chuckle too, because laughter in this tunnel feels like rebellion, and rebellion tastes sweet. Your mind drifts, caught between the rhythm of words and the hiss of the storm. You think of how every culture wraps itself in stories. Some write them down, binding them into heavy books. Some broadcast them with special effects. And some, like here, speak them softly in tunnels of snow, hoping the words will outlast the night. A fact comes to you, whispered in the back of your memory. In some of these tales, Raven was not just a trickster, but a creator, credited with shaping land itself. You glance at the children, their faces glowing in lamplight, and realize they are not just entertained. They are being handed a map of their world, disguised as myth. The lamp sputters. The shadows leap high, stretch thin, vanish. For a moment, the tunnel plunges into darkness. The children gasp, clutching their parents, and your chest tightens. Then the father coaxes the flame back, steady once more. He smiles faintly, and the story continues as if nothing happened. You exhale, shaky, amused at how fragile the world feels when one small flame falters. In your world, blackouts mean boredom and melted ice cream. Here, it means the universe itself blinks dot. The stories weave on, endless, circling like the wind. Outside, you lose track of time, though maybe that is the point. Time measured in tales is softer, easier to bear. You laugh suddenly, realizing your jaw no longer aches from chewing dried fish. Instead, it loosens in rhythm with the stories, your breath syncing with the rise and fall of voices. The children begin to yawn, small heads nodding, their bodies sagging against fur and arms. The mother strokes their hair, her voice softening, her bear now less a monster than a guardian. The father closes his tale with a quiet sentence, a warning wrapped in comfort. The flame holds steady, shadows steady, and for a moment the storm seems farther away. You lean back against the wall, eyes half closed. The tunnel hums with words and warmth. Raven, bear, fog, spirits, they are all here, curled around you like unseen companions. And you, the stranger, are folded into the circle, your fear softened by story, your breath steadying with the rest. Outside, the Arctic prowls. Inside, the shadows whisper. The storm does not stop to take a breath. It grows heavier, louder, piling snow above you hour after hour until the weight feels personal, as if the sky itself has decided you are unnecessary and is now filing you neatly into its frozen cabinet. You press your palm against the ceiling of the tunnel and it pushes back, firm and cold. The walls groan softly, like an old man muttering about his joints. You know they will hold, you are told they will hold, but the sound of shifting snow convinces you otherwise. You glance at the family around you. No one panics. They sit calmly, tending the lamp, stirring a pot of fish broth that smells exactly like the ocean left in a closet too long. You wonder why no one else is worried that several tons of snow are perched above their heads. Then you realize, for them, this is Tuesday. Blizzards are not surprises. They are recurring appointments, like taxes or dental checkups, only with worse music. A child points upward, asking something, her voice curious, not afraid. The father answers with patience, explaining how snow, packed right, is stronger than stone. You blink, surprised, snow fluffy, innocent. The thing you shovel off your driveway and curse at becomes concrete when compacted. You picture your own driveway at home, wondering if you could save money on renovations by simply piling snow inside your walls. Then you laugh softly. Only in the Arctic does snow double as architecture. The tunnel creaks again, louder this time. You hold your breath. The mother, unfazed, keeps sewing. Her hands move steadily, her needle glinting in lamplight. You realize, this is the Inuit way tasks, never stop, even when the storm threatens collapse. If you keep working, you stay calm, and if you stay calm, the children do too. You think about your own household, how one power outage sends everyone spiraling into chaos. Here, it takes an avalanche for someone to even pause mid-stitch. Your back aches against the curved wall, but you shift only slightly. The space is too tight for comfort. You imagine trying to stretch, only to punch a hole in the roof and invite the blizzard in. Best not to test it. You tuck your arms around your knees and breathe slowly, listening to the storm pressing harder. Every gust feels like a giant leaning on the tunnel, testing, testing. The snow sighs, the walls groan, and you picture headlines. Modern visitor becomes popsicle after ignoring Inuit instructions. The father checks the entrance again, scraping snow away in steady motions. His shoulders flex, sweat beating on his brow even in the cold. You realize how relentless this work is. The storm does not care that he is tired. The storm does not pause for a coffee break. He moves like someone trained since childhood to respect this enemy, and you cannot help but feel clumsy in comparison. You would have given up hours ago, curled up in your blanket, muttering about unfairness. But here, survival is stubbornness made into ritual. You learn something strange. These tunnels are not just temporary shelters. They are designed with curved ceilings, so weight distributes evenly. It is quiet genius, born of trial, error, and perhaps more than one unfortunate collapse. You imagine the first person who figured it out, dusting snow off their shoulders, muttering, so maybe a dome is better than a flat roof, a hard-earned engineering degree handed out by nature itself. The storm deepens, and the sound above grows muffled, as if layers are piling too fast to let the wind through. The tunnel darkens slightly, the flame fighting harder. You lean closer to the lamp, grateful again for that small, stubborn glow. Your own reflection wavers on the wall, stretched and bent, a shadow prisoner. You smile nervously at it, then look away, deciding you do not need ghostly company tonight. The children whisper quietly, their voices like bird wings. They ask about the sky, about when the storm will end. The mother hums again, stroking their hair, telling them storms pass, they always pass. Her tone is simple, matter-of-fact. You think of weather apps back home, predicting storms to the hour. Here, prediction is memory. If your ancestors survived, so will you, as long as you follow the same steps. You feel humbled, wrapped not just in snow but in centuries of trial and error wisdom. Your eyelids droop, but the ceiling groans again and jolts you awake. For a moment, your heart pounds. You picture snow rushing in, burying everyone in seconds. But the family does not even flinch. The father cracks a small smile at your wide eyes. He mutters something that makes the children laugh, and you realize he has turned your fear into their bedtime joke. You shake your head, grinning despite yourself, because humor here is more powerful than panic. You settle back again, listening. The storm is heavy, yes, but the tunnel holds. You marvel at this snow wall strong enough to withstand the sky's weight, at a family steady enough to carry on with chores while doom presses overhead, at the strange comfort of calm voices in a space that feels more fragile than glass. You breathe, slow and steady, and though the storm rages above, inside you are learning what it means to endure. Your breath rises in a soft cloud, brushing the low ceiling. It fogs, clings, and turns to tiny beads that dangle for a second before dropping straight onto your cheek. You flinch, because nothing says romantic winter getaway like being kissed by frozen spit. The children giggle at your reaction. For them, it is normal, as common as dust on a windowsill. You rub your skin, muttering under your breath, but the cold wins anyway. Every exhale adds another layer. The ceiling glitters faintly, pearls of frost hanging like decorations. You imagine someone back home selling this as artisan ice chandeliers, ethically sourced. Here, it is just physics, no marketing required. The tunnel breathes with you, filling with invisible smoke. In time, even the walls seem to sweat with it, then stiffen as droplets freeze into a hard, glassy skin. You realize, with a strange shiver, that everyone here is slowly coating the shelter from the inside. Humans are insulation now, wrapped in fur and breath. A boy leans forward, puffing deliberately at the roof, then giggles when his frost drip lands on your knee. You glare half seriously, but he beams with triumph, the Arctic equivalent of winning. A video game? You shake your head, amused. Even under threat of collapse, children still find ways to turn misery into play. Maybe that is the secret treat, the tunnel, not like a coffin, but like a playground where icicles fall as prizes. You try to control your breathing, making it slower, smaller. It does not help. The tunnel catches every breath anyway, storing it, until it turns against you. The father sees your unease, then explains in a steady voice that this is why tunnels are shaped with curves and vents, not just to keep the roof strong, but to let air drift, to keep it from choking. He does not deliver this like a lecture. He just keeps scraping the entrance, voice low, as though science is not a subject but a habit. You blink, impressed. It is easy to think of Inuit life as only endurance, but here you see engineering hidden in routine. Every shape, every slope has a reason. A tunnel is not just dug, it is sculpted, taught by centuries of storms and mistakes. You picture architects back home fussing over blueprints, arguing about skylights. Here, the blueprint is survival, drawn by breath itself. Your chest feels heavy, the air damp and close. You cough, the sound bouncing along the walls like a drumbeat. The lamp flickers. A child imitates your cough with dramatic flair, then collapses into giggles. The mother hushes him, stroking his hair, but even she hides a smile. You sigh, realizing you are comic relief again, the outsider turned into a joke to lighten the night. At least your failures are useful. Another bead of frost drops, this time sliding down the back of your neck. You yelp, then laugh helplessly, shoulders twitching. The father chuckles, shaking his head, and tells the children something that makes them laugh louder. You cannot catch the words, but you know the meaning. This visitor is soft, and you cannot argue. You are soft. Your breath betrays you. Your warmth turns into icy darts, and yet somehow you are still here, still part of this tunnel chorus. Historians like to argue whether these breath-soaked walls made tunnels safer or riskier. Some say the frozen layer hardened them. Others claim it made collapse more likely. Listening to the scrape of snow and the drip of ice, you realize both might be true. Survival is never neat, never simple. It is messy, damp, smelly, and yet effective enough to keep a family alive until the storm moves on. You exhale again, deliberately this time. The mist rises, settles, and joins the glittering crust above. You smile faintly, thinking how ridiculous it is that your very breath becomes part of the architecture. At home, your breath fogs a window, then fades. Here, it freezes into a ceiling. You laugh quietly, a little bitter, a little amazed. Your body is building this shelter with every sigh. The tunnel hums with warmth and noise. Children murmur, the mother hums, the father scrapes, and above all of it, your breathing joins theirs. You are not separate anymore. You are stitched into the air, woven into the frost. The storm presses down, but inside, your breath rises stubbornly, proof that you exist, proof that you endure. The storm loosens its grip, almost grudgingly, like a predator deciding you are too much trouble to chase for now. The tunnel mouth brightens, a faint pale glow snaking through, and the father motions for you to follow. You crawl carefully, knees sore, palms cold, and then you are outside. Blinking hard against the light, it is silence first that hits you, not the cold. Absolute, unnerving silence. No cars, no birds, no hum of power lines, just blankness. The world has been scrubbed, clean, erased, as if some careless artist spilled white paint over every inch of canvas and called it finished. You turn slowly, and there is nothing. No horizon, no landmarks, no difference between ground and sky. Just endless white. Your breath hangs in front of you, louder than the world itself. The crunch of your boots sinks into the snow like a drumbeat in a cathedral. You laugh under your breath, uneasy, because never has your own noise sounded so rude. Even your heartbeat feels like a trespass. The children follow, bundled so tightly in fur they look like small rolling bundles. They hop into the snow and immediately begin carving shapes with their arms, laughing. Snow angels, though no one calls them that here. You chuckle softly, recognizing the universal instinct. When faced with blank space, humans doodle. You glance at your own arms, tempted, but then remember how quickly frost sneaks into your sleeves. The children manage because they have been trained since birth to make play out of survival. You would end up with snow down your shirt and regret, down your spine. The father scans the horizon, his eyes narrowed, searching for something only he can see. You squint too, but the world remains a blur. To you, it is just emptiness. To him, it is a map. The silence hides paths he remembers, caches buried in drifts, hunting trails waiting beyond. You shake your head, humbled. If dropped here alone, you would be a snow sculpture within hours, admired briefly, then forgotten. Your skin prickles under the light. The sun bounces off the snow so fiercely it stings. You squint, shielding your eyes with your hand, and the father notices. He pulls. A narrow strip of bone from his pack ties it across your face. At first it seems ridiculous, like you were wearing a child's toy. But through the thin slit, the glare softens. You blink, amazed. Sunglasses, 1,000 years before you thought they existed, carved from bone with simple genius. You laugh at yourself, realizing you once paid too much for plastic shades that broke within a summer. Here, protection is not fashion. It is survival disguised as clever engineering. The silence grows heavier the longer you stand in it. There is no wind now, only stillness, thick enough to feel. It presses on your ears, fills your chest. You glance at the children, but they are unbothered, chasing each other. Their laughter scattering the silence like pebbles across ice. You breathe out, watch your breath rise, then fade. For a moment, you imagine the world itself has forgotten. Sound, the mother stands nearby, brushing snow from her boots. Her movements are efficient, unhurried. She hums under her breath, a fragment of the song you heard inside. The tune floats out, fragile, but in the vastness it feels enormous. You realize then that silence here is not emptiness. It is a stage. Every sound becomes magnified, important, echoing longer than it should. You step forward, your boots sinking deep. The crunch booms in your ears. You grin nervously, because you have never felt so loud in your life. It is almost comical, like stomping through a library wearing bells. The father gives you a brief smile, then turns back to his scan of the horizon.com, focused. At ease, in this vast white desert, the storm has left no tracks, no signs of what came before. It is as though the world resets each time, blanking memory, erasing detail. You think of chalkboards wiped clean, ready for the next lesson. You shiver, realizing the lesson here is simple. Nothing is permanent. Not tunnels, not paths, not even silence. The storm will return, eventually. It always does. You exhale slowly, letting your breath fog and fade into the white. The children's laughter drifts past. The parents' voices murmur softly, and for a moment the silence feels less threatening. It becomes a canvas, waiting, holding, reminding you that even in the emptiest places, life leaves a trace. The white stretches out in every direction, but then you notice its faint dimples pressed into the snow, leading away like breadcrumbs scattered for anyone bold enough to follow. At first, you think they are fresh tracks, but the father shakes. His head, these prints are older, softened by drifts, almost erased. They are not a wandering path. They are a memory. He steps onto them without hesitation, boots falling exactly where the marks still show. You hesitate, staring into the blank. Nothing around, and realize if you stray just 2 steps off the line, you will lose the way completely. You swallow hard, following carefully, like a child tracing letters for the first time. Your foot slips once, snow swallowing your knee, and the children burst into laughter. You glare, then grin, because fair enough, you would laugh too if someone tried to play Arctic hopscotch and lost. The air bites sharper out here, the wind snaking back with small jabs, testing your patience. The tracks lead toward a low drift that looks like every other snowbank, but when the father kneels, brushing away powder, you see a bundle wrapped in hide. He lifts it carefully, exposing dried fish, bone tools, and a pouch of oil, a secret pantry hidden weeks ago, waiting patiently beneath the snow. You blink in surprise, realizing this is the Inuit version of a convenience store. Only without neon lights and opening hours, the mother joins him, brushing frost from the package, and murmurs something soft. You cannot catch the words, but the tone is reverent. This is not casual storage, it is ritual. You imagine her voice saying what every family thinks when they find a hidden cache. Thank goodness, pasta me, planned ahead. You chuckle, because how many times have you cursed yourself for leaving no snacks in the cupboard? Here, forgetfulness does not mean a late-night craving. It means hunger sharpening its teeth. A child darts forward, tugging a small bone knife from the bundle, waving it proudly. The father chuckles, retrieving it gently, reminding him tools are lifelines, not toys. The boy pouts, but his grin betrays him. You shake your head, amused. Kids will always want to play with sharp things. No matter the century, at least here the lecture is shorter. The tools fascinate you. Simple, yes, but precise. A harpoon head carved from ivory, smooth and gleaming. A sewing needle so fine it looks impossible, made from bone but polished until it could slip through fur. You touch one carefully, surprised by its lightness. You realize people often imagine this life as crude, improvised. But there is sophistication here, disguised in plainness. Engineering without blueprints, science without laboratories. Just patience, tradition, and the occasional lesson learned the hard way. You glance around, wondering how anyone remembers where these caches lie in such a blank desert. The father answers without words, pointing to a notch in a distant ridge. A slight rise in the snow, barely visible. Landmarks invisible to you leap out at him, guiding memory. You marvel at the mental maps carried in his head, an atlas stitched from years of walking, every dip and drift memorized. Meanwhile, you once got lost in a shopping mall parking lot. Perspective hurts. The silence around you deepens, broken only by the crunch of boots and the soft clink of tools. You breathe slowly, realizing the tracks you follow are more than footprints. They are lines of inheritance, lessons passed down. To walk them is to trust that someone before you planned, thought ahead, and believed you would make it this far. It is humbling and slightly terrifying, because if they forgot, if the cache were empty, you would all be gnawing snowflakes for dinner. Another package is uncovered, smaller this time. The mother smiles as she lifts it, revealing berries, dried and dark, preserved. Against the cold, you raise your brows in surprise. Fruit, in this endless white. She offers you one, and you bite carefully. The taste is sharp, sweet, startling after so much salt and fat. You laugh softly, delighted, and the children giggle at your exaggerated joy. It feels like finding candy in a survival kit. You almost bow to the ancestors who tucked this treasure away. The storm mutters in the distance again, but for now the sky is calm, pale, and vast. You look back, seeing the faint tracks stretching toward the tunnel. They look so fragile, so temporary, yet they tether you to safety. You breathe out, fog curling upward, and think how survival here is never about. One moment, one choice. It is about many small ones' footprints pressed into snow, caches buried in silence, tools handed down, stories remembered. You grin faintly, shaking your head at yourself. At home, your survival kit was a drawer of takeout menus. Here it is. Footprints in the snow and trust in people long gone. You follow the father back toward the tunnel, steps careful, heart a little steadier. The tracks fade behind you, but you carry their weight now, heavy and quiet as the storm waiting on the horizon. The silence outside does not last long. You sense it first as a prickle at the back of your neck, that feeling of being watched even when nothing moves. The father pauses, his body still, eyes narrowing toward the edge of white. You follow his gaze and catch it. A flicker of movement, quick, low to the ground, a fox, its fur pale as the snow, its tail twitching. It freezes when it notices you, head tilted, as if calculating whether you are worth the effort. You hold your breath, though honestly, if it tried anything, you would probably surrender immediately. The fox slinks away, leaving only paw prints, but the tension does not. Because where there is a fox, there might be wolves. And wolves, you know. Everyone knows. They hunt in packs. You shiver, scanning the horizon, picturing a line of grey shapes moving silently. The father stands taller, his spear in hand. His stance says readiness, not fear. Yours says, please let me back inside. A child tugs your sleeve and whispers something, pointing upward. You squint. For a moment you think it is just a drift of shadow, but then it shifts. Broad, slow, too large. Your chest tightens. A bear. Not the cute kind from picture books. Not the stuffed one you hugged as a child. This is hunger on 4 legs, prowling the edges of your vision. You swallow hard, throat dry, realizing suddenly that in this world you are not top of the food chain. You are barely even the middle. The bear lingers, sniffing the air. The family does not scream, does not run. They gather closer, voices low, the father steady, the mother whispering instructions to the children. You notice how the children obey, immediately sliding behind her legs, their eyes wide but silent. No tantrums, no shrieks. You think of kids back home in the grocery aisle, wailing because candy was denied. Here, candy is survival, and silence is the price of staying alive. You glance at the father's spear, carved bone tipped with sharpened ivory. Effective, yes, but against that mountain of fur and muscle, you almost laugh nervously. It feels like bringing a toothpick to a gunfight. Yet he looks calm, weight balanced, grip sure. He has done this before, maybe too many times. You, meanwhile, cannot even hold your breath without shaking. The bear takes a step closer, snow crunching under its weight, and you freeze. You remember reading somewhere that polar bears are so stealthy hunters you might not even notice until it is too late. That fact returns now, unwelcome, buzzing in your head. You chuckle bitterly, whispering to yourself, congratulations, you noticed, gold star. But then, just as suddenly, the bear turns. Its massive body sways, its paws sinking deep, and it lumbers away, uninterested. Maybe it smells something better. Maybe it has seen this family's calm before and knows a fight will cost too much. Whatever the reason, you exhale in relief. Your knees wobbling like wet paper. The father lowers his spear slowly, his eyes still fixed on the distance. The children whisper again, excitement bubbling out once danger has passed. You chuckle softly, realizing they will turn this into a story later. The night the bear walked near, and everyone stayed still. You shake your head, amused. You barely stayed still, you nearly invented a new kind of snow dance. And here is a curious truth. In some Inuit communities, hunters believed that animals noticed behavior, that respect mattered. A careless gesture, waste, or arrogance might drive away game. Survival was not just about weapons, but about the relationship between people and animals. You remember this as you watch the father, his expression not triumphant, not boastful, but watchful, as if the bear is not an enemy, but a rival he must always acknowledge. You walk back toward the tunnel, heart still hammering. The silence of earlier feels different now. Not blank, not empty, alive, crowded with eyes just beyond the horizon. You grin shakily, muttering to yourself that you miss problems like rush hour, traffic or burnt toast. At least those do not try to eat you. The family moves steadily ahead, unhurried, their calm wrapping around you like another layer of fur. You follow close, grateful, your gaze darting at every flicker of white. The storm may have passed, but the land itself watches, waiting. And in that gaze you learn something sharp. Here, survival is not about winning. It is about being noticed, respected, sometimes spared. You breathe slowly, feeling the cold sting your throat, and know you will not forget those eyes anytime soon. You shuffle back into the tunnel, the cold clinging to your boots like a jealous ex. The children slide, in first giggling, shaking snow from their hoods, their laughter a relief after the heavy silence outside. The father follows, his spear laid gently aside, his shoulders still tight, but his eyes softer now. The mother kneels to stir the pot again, the broth hissing as if it too sighs with relief. You settle into the curve of the wall, your body remembering the cramped comfort, and notice how the air inside feels thicker, warmer, almost alive. It strikes you then not the spear, not the bone tools, not even the tunnel walls are what hold this family together. It is the invisible cord between them, the trust so casual it looks like routine. You saw it outside, the way the children obeyed instantly, the way the parents stayed calm, the way no one doubted that each person would do their part. That you realize is the true insulation. You can wrap yourself in all the fur in the world, but without that bond, the storm still wins. You think about your own family dinners, voices overlapping, someone scrolling on their phone, someone else sighing about the dishes. Compare that to here, where the simple act of sharing broth becomes a fortress. You chuckle softly, half in admiration, half in shame. A storm at home is arguing about the thermostat. A storm here is, well, an actual storm. The children curl close, together, shoulder to shoulder, their bodies radiating warmth. You blink, realizing how literal that phrase is in this place. Shared warmth is not sentimental. It is central heating, upgraded by proximity. You imagine pitching the idea back home. Forget expensive heating bills. Just stack your relatives, like cordwood. You laugh quietly, then cover your mouth, but the father glances at you and smiles anyway, as if he knows exactly what thought crossed your mind. The mother hums again, soft and low, stitching her song into the rhythm of the night. It blends with the scrape of the father's knife against bone, the bubbling pot, the crackle of oil lamp. This is their orchestra. No grand instruments, no polished stage, just survival turned into harmony. You close your eyes, letting it soak into your ears, feeling oddly safe despite the fact that a bear prowled the horizon minutes ago. It surprises you to learn, though no one says it outright, that children here grow up with responsibility far earlier than you did. A boy might learn to sew before he can read. A girl might learn to mend boots before she knows games. These tasks are not chores, they are lifelines. You smirk, remembering your own teenage rebellion, sulking over taking out the trash. Here, sulking would probably earn you a free ticket to hypothermia. Still, there is humor tucked even into this severity. The father pretends to trip as he enters, making the children giggle, their earlier fear dissolving into laughter. The mother rolls her eyes but hides a smile. You realize it is not only work and trust that bind them. It is these jokes, these tiny sparks of absurdity that light the darkness. Humor here is not a luxury. It is survival dressed in disguise. You shift again, trying to stretch your stiff legs, and bump your head lightly on the roof. Frost sprinkles onto your shoulder, and everyone chuckles. You sigh dramatically, and the children erupt in giggles. Congratulations, you are officially the comic relief again. But you do not mind. In fact, you feel proud, because for a moment your clumsiness has stitched you into their warmth. You are not just the outsider anymore. You are part of the joke, and in that small laughter, you sense the truth. Strength alone will never be enough out here. The bear is stronger, the storm is stronger, but trust, shared work, and a little well-timed humor, that is the true muscle. That is the thing that keeps the ceiling from collapsing, the tunnel from freezing, the family from splintering. You lean back, letting the lamp's glow blur in your eyes, and think quietly that perhaps the greatest survival skill of all is simply staying close. You stretch your legs as best you can. Bones heavy, shoulders sore, every muscle reminding you of the day you did not expect to survive. The tunnel presses close, yet instead of feeling trapped, you feel cocooned. The lamp burns low, its flame a thin ribbon swaying in the still air. Around you, the family settles into quiet, their breaths sinking, their bodies tucked close. You realize how rare this is: total silence, shared without tension. No traffic outside, no phones buzzing, no neighbors shouting through walls. Just snow pressing gently, as if the earth has tucked you in. The children curl against their parents, their small faces softened by exhaustion. The mother drapes an arm around them, humming a tune too low for words, a vibration more than a song. The father leans back, his spear within reach even as his eyes droop. You are struck by the paradox alert even in sleep, but calm enough to let go. You think of your own bed at home, with its soft mattress and warm blankets, and you almost laugh. How ridiculous it seems now, how fragile, compared to a dome of snow and the trust of those beside you. You close your eyes, but they flicker open. Again at the faint drip of melted frost, the tiny sound amplified in the hush. A drop lands on your sleeve, cold, sharp. You shiver, but smile. The tunnel is alive, breathing, shifting, reminding you that nothing here is static. It is not a coffin, not a trap, but a living shelter, flexing against the storm. And somehow, you feel safer for it. Your stomach stirs faintly. The broth and dried fish, still heavy but comforting. You think of feasts back home, overstuffed plates, food wasted, and you sigh. Here, every mouthful has weight. Every bite carries memory of the hands that hunted, preserved, and carried it. Gratitude tastes different in the Arctic. It lingers longer, like the cold itself. As you shift again, the mother glances at you and smiles faintly, as though to say, yes, it is uncomfortable. Yes, you will survive anyway. You grin back, sheepish, then tuck yourself closer to the wall, letting the chill sink in until it is no longer sharp, just steady. You are not warm, not exactly, but you are safe. And in this land, safety is warmth enough. Time stretches strangely in the dark. Minutes feel long, hours short. You cannot tell which is which anymore, but it hardly matters. The storm outside is muffled now, its growls softened, its weight no longer threatening but protective. You imagine the snow piling higher, sealing cracks, thickening the walls, making your shelter stronger. The very thing that could bury you is also what shields you. You chuckle quietly, amused by the irony. Nature has a twisted sense of humor, not unlike your own. A thought drifts to you. Historians sometimes argue whether people truly slept deeply in these tunnels or only dozed, alert for collapse or predators. As you listen to the family's steady breathing, you think maybe the truth is in between. Sleep here is not luxury, not oblivion. It is surrender, cautious but necessary. A bargain made with the night. Your eyelids lower again, heavy now, and you let them. The lamp flickers once, twice, then steadies. The tunnel sighs. You exhale, long and slow, letting your breath rise to join the frost above. The snow walls hold, whispering with each creak, telling you that you belong here, at least for this night. And so you drift, not falling, not tumbling, but sliding softly into rest. Your thoughts blur, the tunnel fades, and all that remains is the quiet rhythm of breath, yours mingling with theirs, warmth tangled with cold, silence deep enough to carry you under. Now, the lullaby comes, slow and gentle, the last 300 words softening like snow settling after a storm. The walls blur, their edges smoothing, their weight less heavy. You imagine the snow no longer as a burden, but as a blanket, folding over you, tucking every sharp thought away. The lamp's glow thins, softer now, more memory than fire. The hum of the family's breathing becomes a tide, carrying you further out, further down, where time does not matter and storms cannot reach. You feel the warmth of shared closeness, shoulders touching, hearts steady. Their trust becomes your trust, their calm settles into your chest. You drift with it, breathing slower, deeper, until even the sound of your own lungs feels distant, gentle, safe. The tunnel creaks again, but the sound no longer alarms you. It is only the snow adjusting, the earth reminding you it holds you carefully. You are not in danger now. You are cradled. The storm outside fades into silence, its voice swallowed by the white. You picture it circling, muttering, then giving up. You smile faintly, knowing it will return someday, but not tonight. Tonight belongs to rest. Tonight belongs to the small, steady flame and the warmth of bodies pressed close, to the trust that nothing will break until morning. Your vision dims, shapes fading, voices softening, until the only thing left is quiet. It stretches wide, endless, but instead of emptiness, it feels full, safe, complete. You let go, surrendering to it, sinking deeper, softer, until thought itself falls away. And so you sleep, not in fear, not in hunger, but in silence that holds you like snow itself, patient and steady, whispering of resilience. End of script. Sweet dreams.